Hey Clashers, in the new video of Judosloth, he's interviewing Ferry, the community manager of Clash of Clans, and they're talking about a couple of different topics like the new event troop, the Elephant Rider, as well as free-to-play versus the paying players in Clash of Clans, the same as decoration or the Clan War League skin for the Minion Prince. But I will try to break down the interview for you guys and as well share my point of view on a couple of different of those topics. But if you want to watch the entire interview, make sure that you're checking out Judosloth channel. I will link it down below. But let's get started with the first topic, and that is the new event troop. Because Supercell hosted a community contest where you were able to submit your own ideas for future event troops, and well, the Elephant Rider made it as the winner. Overall, a really cool concept, the same as, well, Ferry said the entire thing was a huge success, which means they're planning on doing that maybe again in the future. He even thought about maybe having this for a future defense, or maybe as well a new equipment. So we'll love to see what crazy things the community is coming up with, especially with the equipment. That would go wild. But as well, he's mentioning that all of those non-winning submissions could make it to the game in some or the other way, where future things which are getting added to the game are maybe inspired by some of those crazy ideas the community had. So there's still a lot of options. But for now, unfortunately for the Elephant Rider, there is no specific timeline just yet on when it's going to make it to the game. All we know is that eventually the Elephant Rider is going to be event troop in the game. Let's move on to the next topic, and this is a really interesting one, which is the free-to-play versus the paying players in Clash of Clans. The first thing Ferry is highlighting is that Supercell obviously is a business, but at the same time, they're trying to keep the balance between the free-to-play and the paying players. As well, this is something which, the game is now around for so long, and they keep trying to have this going on for many more years. And they're kind of proud right now on the work, because the fact which he's mentioning is that, well, the majority of players, like most of the player base, including Town of 17, are actually free to play in Clash of Clans, which means you can reach the end game being completely free to play. As well, obviously, for those who are spending money, they want to make sure that they feel like they're getting something, like they get value for their money, and make sure that there is nothing hidden behind a paywall in the game. And that's pretty much the entire summary. As well, my couple of cents is that I've seen a lot of comments about pay to win, like under my videos and as well like others in the comments. And I think the tricky thing is just the definition of pay to win. Because if you just follow the definition, which is if you're spending money, you get an advantage. This is like, you could see that as anything. Any game based on that definition can be pay to win. Which means if it's a skin which is just slightly giving you an advantage, the game is pay to win, right? Because this advantage is not defined in any way. This is as well why the word pay to win is getting used in so many different aspects, because pay to win is something different for every single person out there. And it feels like everyone has a different limit of when this pay to win status is actually reached. This is why with the different updates, people are sometimes saying, oh, that's not pay to win for me, while others are saying, oh, that's now a super pay to win feature. So that's really the tricky part about this pay to win aspect. As well, if you're asking for my opinion, for me, pay to win is if I unlock something with money which I cannot unlock as a free-to-play player. So for example, if I'm going into a game and I'm spending like a certain amount of money and I'm getting like plus 10% damage boost or something like that, or more hit points or something like a base stat increase, which I cannot get as a free-to-play player, that's then for me pay to win. I know, not everyone is sharing the same like limit there and like the same definition, I guess, but that's kind of how I see it, which means like what we have right now in Clash of Clans is for me not pay to win whatsoever. But again, as I said earlier, everyone has their own take on this definition there, which is completely fine. Like, don't take me wrong, everyone has their own limit, as I said, on when they think this limit is reached and it's actually crossed. But let's move on with the next topic, which is decorations. Supercell is aware of the current decorations issue, and there's actually two of them. The first one being that as someone who's collecting decorations, you can't really show them in your village. There's not enough room. And that's at the same time leading then to the second issue, which is people are just putting all of their decorations inside their village and making it super messy. And in that way, it's really hard to really identify the single defensive pieces within the village because everything looks pretty much the same. So Supercell is aware of both of those issues. The first issue with like, how can I showcase my decorations? They're working on that, on like finding a nice solution on where you can actually like showcase them. They thought about like an isolated like something, but again, we're in like 2 app. So they're working on something there. And as well for everyone out there who's like being upset and not really happy about, okay, I have to break down this village with all of the decorations in there, it's hard to spot something. They're as well currently thinking about just like a toggle button where you can turn off and turn on decorations on the other village side. Like if you're attacking in Clan War or Legend, for example, you can just toggle that button and you're not going to have any decorations like visible for you if you're attacking, which would be quite a nice feature, to be honest, which I wouldn't mind. I think villages should defend on themselves, and not just because people are putting decorations in there. But that's just my 2 cents, right? Like everyone can have their own opinion there, but that's at least something they're currently working on and they are aware of. So the next thing obviously is Eagle Artillery. That's right, with the Town Hall 17, we have lost the Eagle Artillery, and Supercell has shared that there is going to be Eagle Artillery decorations for everyone. So you have still the spirit of the Eagle Artillery in your village. They have already said, like with the last interview Judo and Ferry had, that would only take like 6 months. Those 6 months by now are already passed, but it's not in the game. Ferry said they have different options of the decoration ready. They just need to pick it and put it into the game. But still, there is no specific timeline on when this is going to happen. It will happen eventually. This is all he said. Let's just hope it's going to be sooner than later. I think that's the best way of putting it. Next thing is going to be emotes and mythic skins. Those 2 topics as well were mentioned, which means emotes. Currently, the issue there is that it's really limited use case. They're so far thinking only of like the chat, and I have seen as well myself talking about it, and as well in the comments that people were scared of that, where the emotes are getting added to fights, for example, where you're not just seeing it on the top left how many spectators you have, but as well like emotes popping up and everything and distracting. That would be not that optimal, and it seems like that they're not really considering that right now, which I think is a good thing, because that would be just really confusing and distracting. But having emotes in the chat, why not? But I feel like they need to have more use cases in general. That's exactly their issue right now with the emotes. The mythic skins, this is a concept which they have already worked on in the past, but have never really published. And to what I understand, it's pretty much like a next level skin with like more animations, cooler animations and such, which, I mean, I'm a skin nerd. I like whenever I play a game, I like always get into the skin game and buy a lot of those. It's like in Clash of Clans, it's in Dead by Daylight, whatever game I play, it's always there. And so I'm quite excited about that. I really hope that we're going to have mythic skins in the future. I kind of see that as the legendary scenery we have, which is like upgrade in graphics and such, but obviously as well more expensive. But at the end of the day, it's a cosmetic, right? So you don't have to get it. As well, there's something they're considering are skins for troops, but they have to make sure that they're reworking all of those different modules from 2D into 3D, so that actually works. But that's when it comes down to the mythic skins. But they have as well talked about the skin for the minion prints for the Clan War League medals. And actually, Ferry even increased this entire thing with saying, yes, they have this on their bucket list, adding the minion print skin. But on top of that, they have as well in the pipeline all of those minion print skins which are missing from old sets. There is no timeline, yet again, unfortunately, on when those are going to happen and be added to the game. But apparently, those old skin sets we have, which are missing the minion print skin, are supposed to be like complete. So this is something I'm looking forward to for sure. I think especially popular skin sets like I think it's the mythic skin, like what is the white one? I think it's called mythic skin set, right? Like which was released with Town Hall 15, I believe. But I think a lot of people would love to see like the minion print skin there to complete their set. But that's for sure something which is going to happen in the future. We just don't know yet when exactly that future is going to be. The next thing that I've talked about are some fun stats, which means what is the most used troop in the entire game? And no, it's not Root Riders, I'm sorry, but it's actually balloons. And the second most used troop are actually dragons. On the other side then, what is the least used troop? That's actually Ice Hound. I was more thinking the Super Valkyrie, but Ice Hound, it's in the same like bucket there. So yeah, not the greatest spot for them. The most used equipment is actually the Eternal Tome. That to me was no big surprise. But the second place was surprising, which is the Healer Puppet, which I can understand because it's really strong. I would have not expected this to be the second most used equipment in the game. At least for me, that was surprising. The least amount of, least used equipment, that was no big surprise. Again, I think every one of us can guess that, and that's right, the Lava Loon Puppet. Let's hope they're going to make it usable at some point, but yeah, for now it's not the greatest, and it's the least used for sure. But as well, they are aware that some of those troops, equipments, and everything are not used that much, and something they're considering apparently is obviously balance change stuff still, but as well reworking them, for example. But since they're busy with a lot of other things right now, this is not really high on the priority list. But it could happen eventually that we see reworks of existing troops to make them more usable. Reworks not just in balance change way, but as well reworking some of their mechanics to make them more fitting to other strategies maybe, or just fitting in general to the game itself. Next thing they have talked about are the spell towers, where right now there is this 2 options of moving forward with them. The first option is if you're upgrading them, actually the spells are getting stronger, or the other option is that more different spells are getting added to the game. There's no solution yet, and to me the answer more sounded like, okay, we don't have a solution right now as well for the sweeper, so I would not expect any spell tower level anytime soon, to be honest, just based on the answer. That's just my impression I got from how Ferry answered that. But those are the 2 options currently which are in the room for the future of the spell towers. Next thing, community events, and I'm talking here about the Rebel Rumble, for example. And I think he has shared something which is way more interesting than the community event itself, but they have in general said that they're not really happy with the visibility and with how the event overall turned out, but at the same time, it's something they want to bring back to the game in the future in an improved way. But for sure, the visibility is a big deal, because he said only 5 to 10% of the player base actually got the rewards, and you had to claim them. But to me, the interesting thing is what we can get out of that, because I would say pretty much everyone on YouTube got the rewards, right? Because they were for free. You could just play normally your game, we would reach those milestones and get the free rewards, and you just claim them. But only 5 to 10% actually claimed them. This should really showcase how little and small this social media player base bubble is. Entire social media bubble, which I would say the majority of those players have received those rewards, that's just 5 to 10%. And some of those people are calling themselves a casual. Guys, you're the top 10% of the game. Be aware of that. And that's the crazy thing, which a lot of people are not noticing. The masses, the sheer amount of players which are out there is insane. And the majority of them are playing in a really casual way. And even if you think as a YouTube viewer, you're a casual, no, you're not. I think you're closer to becoming the next world champion than being an actual casual in the game. I hope I boosted your confidence a little bit, but I think that is actually true. But let's move on, because the final segment is actually Town Hall 18. And Judo asked Ferry, is there anything you can share already for Town Hall 18? And there was one thing Ferry was able to share, and that is Town Hall 18 is going to come with a completely new gameplay mechanic, which we have not seen in the game so far. This obviously makes me quite excited. I hope you guys are excited as well, because Town Hall 18 should come around mid to end November, I guess, later this year. And so I'm really excited actually to see how things are going to turn out, if you guys are going to like it, and how successful that is going to be. But that's pretty much the overall interview summarized as with some of my opinions. And let me know what you think about all of that. As well, tomorrow there will be a video. If you want to have some nice rewards, make sure that you're joining my Discord server. I always host giveaways whenever I don't upload. Tomorrow we'll host another giveaway. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in 2 days again with the next nice video. Until then, see ya and bye-bye.